Back with another one. Well, finally, GLM 5.3 did drop on August 14th, 2026. And yes, I know, it feels like every AI company decided to launch a new model in the same week. But this one is different for two reasons. Z.ai says it is 50% better at real coding work than GLM 5.2, and while they were training it to code, it became much better at finding security problems too. That sounds impressive. It also raises a pretty serious question. If a model can find a security hole, how close is it to being able to use that hole? So let's cut through the giant benchmark chart. I'll show you what actually changed, what GLM 5.3 can do, and the part of this release that Z.ai is holding back for another 2 weeks. GLM 5.3 is available now through Z.ai's coding plan and Z-Code. The downloadable model weights are not available today. Z.ai says those are coming 2 weeks after launch, once its safety checks and hardening are finished. That detail matters because people will call this an open model. It is planned to be open weights, but on launch day you're using Z.ai's hosted version. The model itself is not a brand new giant architecture. Z.ai says GLM 5.3 uses the same 743 billion parameter base as GLM 5.2. The improvements came from post-training. In normal English, they did not build a bigger brain, they gave the same brain much harder practice. Instead of only training it on short coding questions, Z.ai created long tasks that look more like a real day at work. The model might need to inspect a code base, read documentation, find a bottleneck, change the code, test the change, and prove that it worked. That is the first important idea in this release. GLM 5.3 is being trained to finish a job, not just answer a prompt. Z.ai says GLM 5.3 improved by 50% over GLM 5.2 on its private code bench. Private benchmarks always deserve some caution because the company controls the test, but Z.ai also published results from public coding and agent tests, and the jump over 5.2 is large in several of them. For example, on Terminal Bench 3.0, the score moved from 4.6 to 28.3. That test gives the model a terminal and asks it to complete messy, multi-step computer tasks. Do not worry about memorizing the number. The practical meaning is that the older model failed most of these jobs, while the new model completed far more of them. On DeepSWE, which tests whether an agent can work through real software problems, GLM 5.3 moved from 46.2 to 66.9, and on Agent's last exam it reached 28.5, slightly ahead of the other models shown in Z.ai's chart. The honest version is this. GLM 5.3 does not win every coding benchmark. GPT-5.6 Sol and Fable 5 are still ahead on some tests. Kimi K3 is also slightly ahead on DeepSWE. But compared with GLM 5.2, the new model is much more consistent when a task has several steps and takes a long time. That is more useful than saying it got smarter. It means you should have to babysit it less. We also have an early independent test from AI Code King, who received access before the public launch. Their King Bench 3 test mixed front-end work, small simulations math, local model fine-tuning, and 3D graphics. GLM 5.3 scored 73 out of 80 or 91.25%, which put it first on that particular leaderboard. The strongest results were not just text answers. The model built an elevator simulation, an interactive bow and arrow demo, a folding table, and a local fine-tuning interface. It struggled more with one detailed 3D wristwatch, but still tied the best score in that test. That is encouraging because it shows range, but it is still one creator's private benchmark, treated as a useful hands-on signal, not final proof that the model is number one at everything. Now we get to the unusual part of this launch. Z.ai added vulnerability discovery work to the training. In simple terms, the model practiced reading code and finding the kind of mistakes that can turn into security problems. According to Z.ai, that ability grew faster than expected. The model did not only get better at pointing to a suspicious line, it became better at connecting several clues and reasoning through a complete chain of problems. For defenders, that can be extremely useful. A company has more code than its security team can manually inspect. A model that can review a large project, explain the risky part, and help verify a fix could save weeks of work. On CyberGym, GLM 5.3 scored 84.5%, up from 77.2 for GLM 5.2. That test starts with source code and checks whether the model can find and validate a vulnerability. On the harder exploit bench test, it more than doubled the old model, moving from 24.4 to 54.4, but look at the full chart before declaring victory. Fable 5 and GPT 5.6 Sol are still well ahead on that harder test. That gap is important. GLM 5.3 made a big jump, but the closed frontier is still stronger at the most difficult part of the security chain. Z.ai says it has been working with security teams in China to test these models against real code bases. After expert review, screening, and removing duplicates, the company reports 2,436 vulnerabilities across 269 projects. 1,097 were rated medium to high severity. The affected software reportedly included operating systems, browser engines, infrastructure, web applications, and network protocols. Z.ai says the oldest issue had been sitting in code for roughly 40 years. That is the kind of claim that sounds amazing in a headline. So here's the cautious way to read it. First, these are Z.ai's own numbers. Second, finding a possible issue is not the same as publishing a confirmed security advisory. Z.ai says findings go through expert review and a disclosure process, and it created a public security disclosure ledger to track what has actually been disclosed. So the real story is not the AI found thousands of confirmed disasters. The real story is that AI-assisted code review may be becoming useful at a scale human teams cannot match, as long as humans still verify the findings and handle disclosure responsibly. This is also why the 2-week delay for the open weights makes sense. The same reasoning that helps a defender find a weakness could help an attacker understand one. Z.ai says it is finishing safety evaluation and hardening before releasing the weights. That does not remove the risk. Once weights are downloadable, the company cannot control every use. But a short delay gives security teams time to test safeguards, document limitations, and decide how access should work. I would rather see Z.ai explain exactly what changed during those 2 weeks than simply say the model is safe. The launch post is unusually direct about the capability, but we still need a proper model card, independent testing, and more detail about the safeguards. This is the tension at the center of the release. Open models make powerful tools available to more researchers and developers. Security capability also makes the cost of a mistake much higher. If you want to use GLM 5.3 today, Z.ai says it has rolled the model out to all coding plan users. You can use it through Z-code or supported coding agents. There is one API change to watch. GLM 5.3 supports low, high, and max thinking effort. You can no longer turn thinking off completely. Z.ai recommends max effort for coding work. If an existing application sends thinking type disabled, it needs to be changed before switching the model ID, or the request will fail. For most people, the easiest test is not asking for a giant app. Give it a small real project, ask it to understand the code first, make one change, run the tests, and explain what it verified, then watch whether it actually finishes the job. A beautiful answer is not the same thing as working code. My early take is that GLM 5.3 looks like a meaningful upgrade, not a renamed checkpoint. The best part is not one score. It is a combination of stronger long-running coding work, fewer output tokens on Z.ai's private test, and a much larger jump in security analysis. The biggest question is also obvious. Can independent testers reproduce these results after the weights are released? If the answer is yes, GLM 5.3 could become one of the most useful open coding models available, especially for teams that want to run their own infrastructure later. If the results do not hold up, it is still a strong hosted coding model, but the best open coding model headline will need an asterisk. For now, I would put it this way. GLM 5.3 is clearly better than 5.2, competitive with the strongest coding models in several areas, and unusually capable at defensive security work. It does not beat every closed model, and the open weights are not here yet. That is the balanced version. No benchmark worship required. Let me know what you want me to test when the weights arrive, because that is when the most interesting comparison begins. That's it for today's video, and thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.